All right, headline hijinks. We are going to talk about our biggest fantasy football trade targets ahead of week 3. These could be some buy lows or some buy highs as well. I know no one ever wants to pay full price for anything, especially in this fucking economy, but sometimes you gotta when there's talent out there and people know about it. So we're going to give you a witty headline for our favorite trade targets across the league. Steve, kick us off, man.
Sure. My first headline is Brock you like a hurricane. And that is I am telling you, go trade for Brock Bowers. And listen, the window is rapidly closing in redraft to get him at anything less than prime Kelsey value. And you're about to get prime Kelsey production out of this guy. He is that good. We knew he was a generational prospect. We knew he was an athletic freak. We knew the Raiders wanted to get him involved. Listen, you do not draft a tight end in the second round and then draft one in the first round the next year unless you're like, this dude is him. And he is him. This guy is a field stretcher. He is their possession guy. Him and Devontae Adams, they looked good.
Mm-hmm.
They looked good. Brock Bowers is the guy you want to target in trades. And I know he's going to be a little expensive, but for that position and how shallow it is, you want to pay up. It's an advantage that you just won't get otherwise.
This is one of those situations where you are going to have to pay up and you are going to have to pay top dollar for him, but you're probably going to have to pay more here down the line if you were to ever want to go and get invested with Brock Bowers. And this is the thing about Gardner Minshew led offenses as well that I kind of love is like he targets the shit out of his top players. Michael Pittman Jr. had a stellar last season under Gardner Minshew. And now, I just traded away Michael Pittman this week in a couple leagues. I'm trying to trade him away in other leagues I have him because he's not getting that same high volume. Well, he's still getting a high volume, but it's at least as far as the target share, but it's just not a high volume passing offense. But Gardner Minshew can deliver that. One of the only quarterbacks, and he is the only quarterback with over 250 yards in the first 2 weeks. So I like this call here. How do you feel about the Minshew offense in general, Will?
It's not really the offense that I'm excited about, it's the usage. I almost chose Brock Bowers for this. I decided to go the buy low route, so we'll talk about that. But genuinely, with the usage we've seen right outside the gate in 2 weeks, this team plays Carolina this week. So if you're going to trade for him, you have to do it now. He hasn't even scored yet. He's going to start scoring,
Mm-hmm.
and might be bold, but I wouldn't. I don't think I would rather have anyone above Bowers than Trey McBride at the tight end position right now.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I guess we'll stay with the tight end position. We'll go to my first target for trades here ahead of week number 3. It's a guy that I still do value ahead of Bowers. So high school. Give me a little Travis Kelce, baby. That's referring to, of course, the song that T Swizzle wrote for this man. Did you guys see Jason Kelsey's moves ahead of Monday Night Football?
Oh,
That guy was
yeah.
teach me how to dance like that, guys. That's like I want to learn how to do that. That was sick. That was
Oh,
awesome.
he's got rhythm. That you know what it is? You got to have the confidence to do it. Just got to let your hips
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at Travis Kelce here, though, like it feels like the most obvious buy low of all time. Like I don't need to go into his accolades. I don't need to go into his career stats for you, but I will tell you why his perceived value is lower than I think his actual value is. One, he had a big play called back last week and almost had a touchdown as well. They did the little shuffle pass towards the goal line, was just short. I think the Chiefs will also have to be a more pass heavy team here without Isaiah Pacheco. I think this kind of becomes almost like a Dallas like offense where, hey, we got a bunch of Jags in the backfield. We're going to have to pass it a little more. KC is 22nd in passing percentage. Mahomes is 19th in passing attempts, 26.5 per game. I think that's going up here. The schedule before their week 6 bye, Kelsey's going to have the 10th best. And again, these are very early numbers, so these defenses don't, and all the Titans have been shit, so the defenses don't matter a ton, but it's no one that scares you. Atlanta, the 10th best matchup for tight ends currently. The Chargers, the 8th best. And then New Orleans on Monday Night Football in week 5. Maybe a potential shootout there. If it doesn't pan out too, if Kelsey is washed, I don't think he is. I think at the end of the day, you can still trade him again. You can still trade him again because he has name value. Someone in your league will want Travis Kelce at all times. So I'm willing to push my chips in. I'll tell you a little bit later about a trade I made for him when I talk about my next target. But I'm back in on Travis Kelce. Will, are you getting out of business here with the Pfizer backed man?
So he was someone I was a little worried about before the season, and it was because of how I think that they're going to be a great offense, right? But they're little crowded on the receiver side, and I think they were going to run it a lot more than people thought. But with Pacheco getting hurt, that's something to note. With Hollywood Brown on IR, and who knows when the hell he's going to come back, and he's always injured anyway. I think that this is a guy they will start leaning into eventually. I think you said it yourself. He had some plays called back last week. Defenses know that he's the guy in this offense. They've been honing in on him, but they have another couple of guys on this offense. So I'm not worried about him at all. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm excited enough to like give up a ton for him, but I think there are some people panicking out there. I've received a ton of questions on Kelce myself. Like, would people are out here asking me to trade Travis Kelce for low tight ends like Jake Ferguson, David?
Yeah.
That's somewhere I'm like, you can trick some dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, no, I don't ever bring politics onto this program, but there's some people not happy with Travis Kelce, not happy with Taylor Swift out there on the internet right now. So maybe you can capitalize on that as well. We'll get some questions at the end, but I do want to tackle this one here from Pronov saying, help, this is urgent. Do I trade Kincaid plus Ridley away for Kelce? I can afford to lose Ridley.
No. This is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. Don't even think about hitting accept on that.
I don't think it's I also like Kincaid, and I also think Kincaid's going to bounce back here down the line too. I do like Kelce more than Kincaid, but I think the difference of Ridley. Can you get something back here with Kelce Pronov? Are you short at running back? Can you get an extra running back? And honestly, I think Ridley's performance here in week 2 was a little bit fluky. He had maybe one of the catches of the year, let's be honest with that, but also then the rushing touchdown. And I don't know how much I want to get in bed with Will Levis here either. So, I think we're all consensus. We probably wouldn't do this trade, but if you could get another piece back, Will, would you consider this?
No, I said I'm in on Kelce returning or, bouncing back a little, but just as in on Kincaid, returning. That they've had very similar productions. Last week was a fluky game for Buffalo that nobody did anything except James Cook. So that's going to change. And I personally like the passing volume that Calvin Ridley's going to have. I don't see a point in doing this.
Yeah, Pronov saying his team is Josh Allen, Jordan Mason, Breece Hall, Saquon, Waddle, Godwin, Kincaid, Amari, Ridley. You kind of need Ridley, dude. Honestly, you kind of need him right now. Like you can't really trust
Waddle being like without Tua, you need him.
Yeah. I think Ridley, honestly, maybe Godwin's your wide receiver 1 this week, but I don't know who the Titans are playing off the top of my dome. But yeah, I think you need Ridley here, man. Like, again, and I'm the guy telling you to go trade low for Travis Kelce. You're still paying a premium for him, I think, here at this price tag. Will, I want to flip it over to you, man. What is your headline for your first trade target?
I'm going with you'll thank me later. You will thank me later when you trade for Tank Dell. He was a buy low for me last week, and he's still a buy low for me this week. So first, we saw Stephon Diggs with the 2 touchdowns in week 1. Immediately said that that's a sell high for me. I don't think that's going to continue. It could. This is a pass-heavy offense. High-scoring offense. It's going to be scoring a lot. But Tank Dell had more targets than Stephon Diggs. He had more yards than Stephon Diggs in week 1. He, believe it or not, ran more routes than Nico Collins did in week 1.
Oh, wow.
And then last game, the game script was a little off. Nico Collins, they couldn't guard him. This Chicago Bears is a good defense. They kept it low scoring, but they couldn't guard Nico Collins. So I liked what I saw out of the usage of Tank Dell in week 1. Maybe not as much in week 2, but we know what this offense is going to be. You're not always going to get the weeks from him, and we've seen two below average weeks, but you are going to get good weeks from him. And I've seen people panicking, like putting him down there with Terry McLaurin and the guys that have just been doing nothing. Christian Kirk, he is going to have good weeks, and I think he is one of the cheapest people out there that's everybody's panicking on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Tank Dell, kind of like you said, there are going to be weeks where I don't think everyone can eat in this Texans offense, but especially when Joe Mixon is in that backfield. This looks like one of the most well-run teams, well-run, high-powered offenses that I want to be invested in. So yeah, I don't mind getting a piece of Tank Dell here, especially at his low. I think that's a great call there. Steve, back to you here with another trade target from Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chase race. Listen, right now, Jamar Chase is probably going to be the cheapest you can get him on the season.
Yep.
There's no way you're watching this Bengals offense and saying, I feel so good about rostering Jamar Chase with my first round pick. Like, it's just not happening. He's looked bad. The Bengals kind of looked messy. And that's without T. Higgins being there. You thought he'd get all the targets because, he's not there. And who's going to do that? What it's done is it's allowed defenses to just bracket Jamar Chase. They're doubling him at every turn. And so what they're saying is you will have to beat us with someone other than Jamar Chase because you don't have another number one receiver here. So when T. Higgins comes back, that's going to change. That's going to change pretty dramatically. I think Jamar Chase will wind up finishing probably top 15 this season. I would say real chance at top 12, solid chance of being top 10. It's an early season struggle. We've seen it happen. We've seen him overcome it. And he's that receiver who can go for 35, 40 points real quick. It happens. So don't give up on him. And if you don't have him, see if the other managers have lost a little faith because they're probably 0-2 right now because their first round pick duffed it.
Well, here's an example from our guy Sawyer saying, will Chase turn it up? I'm in panic mode and can't trade him for what I want. Like, we have a manager right here in our chat who's panicking about Jamar Chase. First of all, Sawyer, welcome to the IBT family. We appreciate it, man. I hope you subscribe to the channel. But in addition, don't panic, dude. Like, don't panic. Like, I think what Steve said is dead on. I think it will get better here. And, like, if you remember, too, last season, Chase was averaging fewer points in the first two games than he is right now. And then he turned it on over the next 7 weeks. He was one of the best fantasy football assets to have. So I'm keeping my cool here. I don't give a fuck about this slow start. It sucks, but it's part of it here, Will. Are you also buying Chase low where you can get him?
Yep. No, I said in one of my videos earlier in the week that it's only a matter of time before that boom game comes, and you're never going to see a lower price than it is right now for him.
Yep. Absolutely. I'll throw one more trade target out there from myself. Also trade for this guy this week as well. This is quite the Corum drum, if you would. Blake Corum, running back, Los Angeles Rams. He initially looked like the running back 3 on the depth chart in week 1. Everyone was panicking, being dropped in a lot of places. He's projected like 1.3 points on ESPN this week. So you can literally get him for one of your last bench players. And he was a 9th round pick in fantasy football drafts. He was a 3rd round pick in the NFL draft. So obviously this kid has talent. I've discussed the accolades before many times on this show as well. Don't need to get into those. The reason I like Blake Corum right now is I think with Puka Nacua banged up, with Cooper Kupp banged up, the Rams need playmakers. And this guy is that, man. Kyron saw 91% of snaps in week 1 and has been largely inefficient since. He has 30 rushes on the season. That is the most of any player without a run over 10 yards. So he's not explosive right now. Corum didn't look so good. He got a bunch of garbage time fucking carries, like when they're just trying to end that game and get out of Dodge last weekend against the Cardinals. But he did have a 40-yard run back on a return as well. I just don't think they trust him in pass blocking quite yet. McVay did say, though, after he did take that kickback that, quote, we've got to get him a little bit more involved. So take that for what you want. I just think this could be even a lost season for the Rams soon. They're playing the 49ers this weekend. They could go to 0-3. Then they got Green Bay in week 5. They could be 1-4. And I think at that point, you got to see what you have in Blake Corum because we kind of know what Kyron Williams is, but they're going to have to pay Kyron soon. And we have the best RB class we've seen in a long time coming in 2025. So they need to see what they have in these running backs sooner or later. I think Blake Corum will be a factor. I'm going to take the gamble that it's sooner. Is anyone coming on board with me here?
Yeah, I'll jump on board with that. I mean, if you have a deep enough bench, if you're in like a 12-team league, I don't think there's any reason not to grab them. Even if you're in a 10-team league, there might be someone that you have on your bench that probably can go. Like someone's probably rostering like I am, like Dallas Goedert on their bench. He could go.
Yeah.
He's not really going to do anything for you. Why not start? Why not just grab him and see what happens? Kyron Williams was always going to be a flash in the pan to me. He was a slow running
Sean
back coming out.
McVay is a freaking hard on for him right now, though. He is.
You know what though? It'll quickly fade if he doesn't start producing some sort of explosiveness, because Sean McVay, more than anything else, values guys who can hit a home run. And it has to happen. And he was a slow running back coming out of college. He's not getting any faster. And you know what? He had a shit ton of carries last year and took a lot of hits. And some guys just aren't built to take that many hits. He came out as a third down running back prototype, right? Like he was meant to very sparingly touch the ball. And now he's become a bell cow, and he's just not built that way. It's just not meant to be. So Blake Corum, I think, could really see an uptick in work.
Okay. How do you feel about it, Will? Are you getting invested at all, or do you just think it's just better left out there on someone else's bench?
I mean, I get this stash. I mean, we drafted him early in best ball, especially not for the first half of the season. I mean, people spent a pretty expensive pick on him and then just dropped him after week 1, which didn't really make sense to me. But my problem is I think the reason Kyron's struggling is the same reason that Corum would struggle. Not only are Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp injured, this offensive line is unreal. Like I don't know if I've seen that many injuries to an offensive line in a while. And with all the injuries they have, it's one of those things where, the reason we liked Kyron and the reason we liked Corum as an elite handcuff was because this was going to be a top 10 offense. It's not going to be a top 10 offense. They are screwed. There's not much upside outside of like people are looking at the wide receiver losses, and everybody knows that they're going to take a step back. Their offensive line has even more injuries than the receiver core.
Good point.
I just don't see the upside here.
Yeah, that's a good point. This isn't the same Rams offense we maybe thought we were going to get invested with in the preseason. So I appreciate you throwing the cold rag over that. Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a weird, like, off the cuff question? If you're Miami, do you throw a trade offer at the Rams for Matt Stafford?
I would love to see that.
Oh, I think you maybe
you're built to win right now.
I think you go with Bryce Young, don't you? Don't you go get Bryce?
No.
Yeah,
absolutely not. He's not going to do it. Do you not go get Matt Stafford? You offer up like a second round pick or something?
I think you're going to need to pay more for Matt Stafford.
No way. Not with that team being the way it is. They need whatever they can get. Give them 2 seconds then. I don't care. But you could win right now. You could win
not
a Super Bowl.
Not a bad point. Not a bad point. Jesus Christ of the league. What's up, JC? Saying Brock Bowers or George Kittle, both are on waivers in his 16 fab league. He has Kelce. Bowers. I don't think it's a question mark. Bowers to me.
I 100% agree. He's my tight end 1 going forward.
Will, I think you said he's like your tight end 2 pretty much the rest of the season.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Hey, appreciate it, JC. Hope you subscribe to the channel, brother.
I expected him to come back. Crazy.
Let's round it out here. Will, you got one more headline for us, man?
Yes. Are you kidding me? Brandon Aiyuk, the disrespect that I have seen on the Twitter feed and the TikTok feed and the Instagram feed. The weird thing about this is Aiyuk was a guy that I faded before the whole drama. I wasn't in on him. I think he was being drafted literally above where he's ever finished in his breakout season with the unsustainable efficiency he had last season. So I was never in on him. He obviously fell with the whole drama. And similarly to Chase and Dell, I don't think his value is ever going to be lower. People are looking at his box score saying 2 catches for 28 yards, 4 for 43. Oh, this is gross. Like, what are we 60% snap share in week 1? I think that's going a little over people's head that he's still getting eased back, and he was gone. He's being eased back into this offense. And I think he already had upside with McCaffrey being gone, and now with Debo out with his own injury. And I hate to be that guy. I'm a Debo owner, and I knew that he had his own risk just like McCaffrey did, but can we even trust what they're saying about Debo's injury? Like, they could be pulling some Christian McCaffrey crap. Like, maybe he misses a ton of time, and then all they got is Aiyuk and Kittle. So not one weapon, but 2 weapons gone. And I know I said his efficiency was unsustainable last year, but this isn't a guy that needs a ginormous workload to produce for you. So, you get the Rams this week, the Patriots the next week. It's not going to be lower than it is now.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely onto something here. I have a lot of Aiyuk, and I'm kind of just holding him, and I honestly am not sweating it at all because, like we talked about it in the preseason, as you kind of alluded to already, Will. Like the efficiency might come down, but if they ever treated him like the wide receiver one that every fucking team in the league thought he was when they were trying to trade for him, he could produce still wide receiver one numbers for fantasy football. Now he might get that volume. They have to lean on him more.